Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Abel. I'm from the IMS Global Learning Consortium, and welcome to our Learning Impact on Demand series. We're here once again now to explore the topic of effective digital teaching and learning and what we're experiencing in light of this accelerated movement to online, virtual, and distance education in the age of COVID-19 and beyond. We're hearing from leading IMS members who, of course, are the smartest people on the planet when it comes to EdTech. And today, we're very, very fortunate to have a 10-minute leadership interview with a person who is a true expert on this topic. And we're very pleased to have with us Mohit Bhargava, who's the President and Chief Strategy Officer at LearningMate, as well as the President of LearningMate Canada. And LearningMate is a leading provider of digital infrastructure for learning. Welcome, Mohit.
Thank you, Rob. Honored to be here.
Great. It's nice to have you. So the way we'd like to talk about this for our audience who's tuned in is to really get your insights and what you're hearing, what you're seeing from your vantage point. We know the impact is been with us. It's going to be somewhat unpredictable in terms of where we go from here for sure, if not very unpredictable. And so we're going to kind of break up the questioning into, you know, the current impact and the back to school and then the future impact. So let's start just right now with what you have seen so far. What do you think we're learning or seeing right now in terms of this scale of digital learning, the priorities that are being set, you know, the readiness and so forth? What are your thoughts?
I think it's been a really interesting experience the last few months, especially that time just towards the end of the semester. We, in the past, had our online experiences bracketed by traditional infrastructure, right? Brick and mortar infrastructure. And today, what we saw happen was all of that bracketing, that support collapse, and have to move online immediately. It caused a fair amount of distress. You know, we've, over the years, built strong interoperability systems together in an IMS community. We built learning management systems. We built best practices for remote learning, distance education, data capture, all of that. And we saw a lot of these best practices across the country being abandoned in a panic mode as we went online using a synchronous tool. Right? Mm-hmm. I think what that taught us is that in spite of all the work that we've done and the progress that we've made, the larger community of teachers and learners had not fully embraced the best practices that we as in the IMS organization and the community around IMS have put in place. So when we take for granted what remote assessments, you know, what assessments look like or what teaching looks like online, we took for granted a lot of that underlying readiness infrastructure, content availability, student learning skills, all of that. And these last few months highlighted for us that that needs to be worked on. That, you know, it's when it's not a choice, when online learning is not a choice, suddenly you get hit by having to come up with things like parking lot Wi-Fi. You have to come up with, you know, how do I get hotspots with the good work that our telecom companies did into the hands of students. You know, looking at RR computers that are devices that are there capable of handling the systems that they're connecting to. There were all of these fundamental questions that we thought we had answered that came back to us and said, no, there's work to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what you're saying is, you know, when online is no longer just a supplement, it's no longer a choice or an option, and a lot of things have changed. How about upcoming fall, back to school? Do you see some of those changes happening in time for that, and what might those changes be?
We are. It's you know, we're as a business focused, LearningMate is focused on helping schools get their systems in place to deliver digital education experiences. And the conversations that we are having in the community have been very much around what's it going to take to get it right and make it work in back to school 2020. That said, I mean, if you step back a little bit, we are doing this in an environment of fair amount of turmoil. There is an expectation and a prediction from various analysts, education analysts, education press, of schools closing. And there was a existing trajectory of expecting about 200 schools closing. We are looking to see that we are expecting that number to increase. We are also seeing about a 30%. We're expecting to see a 30% decrease in enrollments this year. So what's happening is that that enrollment students and the teaching and learning load is going to get redistributed. It's going to get distributed in a way that's different to what we know today. So I expect to see centers of excellence emerge in places that we expect and unlikely places. Right? There are absolutely the well-known online schools that have been perfecting this type of model for years. There's SNHU, there's Walden, there's UOP, there's ASU has at Plus. So there's so many of these groups that have been doing this perfectly. But I suspect we're going to see more of these clusters come up. And as those come up, the needs of what has to be done from an architecture perspective, content architecture. How do we build content architecture? How do we architect learning experiences that make sense to be natively and only remote at a large scale? So what does differentiated instruction mean? What does CBE type of programs look like when they come up? And then when you go back and look at the infrastructure, that the conversation that we are being asked to look at to answer the questions is the LMS the right place for my content? We've done work with LTI. We've done work with Caliper to get data. We've done work with Common Cartridge to get different types of content from everybody into an LMS. Is that the right place? Does that structure give us the right flexibility and the ability to rapidly respond to new instructional and teaching and learning paradigms? And I think the answer is no. I think the work that has to be done and that people are asking us to start between now and fall and carry forward is these core questions. What is the right infrastructure for that level of scale up? What is the type, how do we leverage the interoperability standards that we have and what are the gaps? What is the type of learning experiences that we want to architect and how do we work backwards into the right types of content architectures and assessment architectures for that? How are we going to capture that data? Where does that data need to live? And the answers are increasingly pointed to a distributed infrastructure. And the larger schools or the schools that are taking on these big problems and looking at them as grand challenges are demonstrating that leadership and saying, we need to address this now.
That's it's very, very interesting because what you're saying essentially is that this not only is a chance to relook at the structuring of the systems, but also it's almost necessary really to really respond in the right way. So that's very, very interesting. Now, is that what you think will kind of be the long-term lasting impact as well, or do you think there are other long-term lasting impacts from this whole experience potentially?
Well, if you, I mean, look at the way we've been doing teaching and learning, it hasn't fundamentally shifted, other than for the smaller group of online learners, it hasn't really fundamentally shifted for the last 30, 40 years. And that is going to shift. I think the role of the instruction technology office, the role of the people who really bring in this notion of what is good instructional design, what is a solid instructional experience, and how do we structure that for class, a class of 1, a class of 10, a class of 100, or a class of 1,000. What goes on what is best done in a synchronous manner? What are the supports that we need there? What is best done in an asynchronous manner? What are the supports that we need there? Those kind of conversations are coming to the fore, and those are lasting. I mean, that impact is going to dramatically transform education as we know it, right? We've seen, major thinkers in our community say education as the school, university is done for, right? We're never going to see that happen. The traditional student that we've known is not going to come back. I don't think that is the case. I think I'm excited. I'm excited because this is the first time that we've been pushed to make a fundamental shift in how we do things, and the outcome is going to be significantly better. The other piece that I think is going to happen is around the structure of the credential itself and the program that you go to school for. Right? We have the digital credentials work group at IMS, and I think that group is going to see a lot of excitement and pressure coming in, simply because of the economic context in which we are going back to school, and the role of education that education and our institutions are going to play in revitalizing the economy going forward.
Well, you're definitely echoing some of the things we're hearing from some of the other leaders that we're interviewing. Once the flexibility is experienced and we're capable of more flexibility, it is hard to go back, it would seem. So finally, I want to say thank you personally for being a leader, as well as LearningMate in our nonprofit work at the IMS Global Learning Consortium. Wanted to give you a short minute or so to just describe the impact of the work of IMS during this time, and perhaps even going forward as it relates to this topic.
I think more than ever before, we've actually seen a validation of the work that we've been doing, over the last, since 2007, I believe. That said, the standards that we've built and the groups that we've built, the work we've done has enabled interoperability in a certain learning paradigm. And I really think that the work that we need to do moving forward now is even more urgent. It is around things like digital credentials. It is around things like where does the data live? It is about saying, look, the LMS might have been the focus for us for the last 10 years. That we may need to defocus the LMS as the central piece of our technology infrastructure for teaching and learning. In which case, then where does content live? Why do we do that? What is the content architecture? So when we look at, the last breakthrough we had in content architecture was Common Cartridge. Then we did Thin Common Cartridge. Then we built in the Caliper tool set and so on and so forth. I think the next push here is going to be thinking about how do we sequence these pieces of content, and how do we get to create those learning sequences with different people's content. Not about how do we get different people's content into one LMS, but how do we take different people's content and different people's technologies and create these seamless, data-rich, customized learning experience, programmatically as well as through human intervention. And I think that is the opportunity for us as a community to take on for the next, in the next few years.
Well, that's very exciting work, and I think we're up to it. So thank you, Mohit, for your insights, and thanks to our viewers for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you back here for more of our series on highly effective digital teaching and learning. This is Rob Abel saying bye for now, and let's keep the learning going.